What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of Falcons in Focus, presented by Ticketmaster, recorded, according to the sign up there, at Ticketmaster Studios. I'm Scott Bair. That's Tori McElhaney, the man of the hour. Micah Abernathy is here with us. And Micah, let's take us back to December of last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in Green Bay.
Right.
Real frozen tundra time of the year too.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if your agent calls you or who kind of gave you the information that Atlanta was gonna sign you off of Green Bay's practice squad. You're from Atlanta. You went to high school here, born
Greater
here.
Atlanta Christian, right? GAC. Yeah.
Born here, get to come home and play for your hometown Falcons. Tell us that story about who gave you the call and what it kind of meant to you. Oh my gosh, I'm going to play in my hometown.
Well, it was a Friday, actually, end of the week, very cold day in Green Bay. And my agent, Cameron Weiss, called me. And I had just gotten to my place, didn't even walk in the door, saw his phone call, answered it. And he was telling me, he was like, yeah, Atlanta wants to claim you. And I was like, wow, this is eye-opening. This is an interesting feeling because I was preparing for a game. And then I got the call, immediately called my mom. It was actually New Year's, so my mom was coming up for New Year's, and she had already bought her flight and everything, and I called her, and I was just like, yeah, so you're going to have to cancel your flight. She was like, why? I was like, well, I'm coming home, and she thought I got cut, and I was just playing with her for a little bit, and then I had to let her know that I was getting claimed, and then she was like, wow, this is a blessing in disguise, and she was like, I don't really care about the flight, so I'm happy. She was like, I'll see you on Friday. And,
wow. So
yeah.
a Friday, that's basically the last prep day, and then it's go
Yeah.
time. And then kind of coming down here, you're able to kind of get into the mix and kind of be back home, and then you've obviously been that way over the course of the off season, and we're heading, towards the regular season coming up. Kind of what's it been like? You hear different stories about guys who get to play at home. Like, what has the experience been like for you?
The experience of playing at home is definitely one of a kind. I try to explain it to some people that are in different teams of the league and things like that, but it's definitely like you're home, but you can't really be home. So
Right.
me being I'm actually from the city. I grew up on the west side of Atlanta, and it's kind of far. I'm like 50 minutes from my mom's house, but it's really, really close at the same time. This is the closest I've been since high school. I haven't played in Georgia since high school. And it's just an eye-opening experience. As soon as you get down here, you automatically have fans, whether it's friends or family or people that just know your family. And it's just amazing the support that I've gotten since I've been here.
I think there's been such a pipeline almost with former high school standouts from Georgia that have now full circled it. You talk about guys like Penny Hart, guys like Lorenzo Carter, yourself,
D'Angelo
Malone,
Justin Schaefer, yeah.
Tyler Taylor,
yeah,
Heineke.
John Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
I mean,
Fitz.
there are so many of these.
It's a lot of us.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's almost like a
AJ,
That's
AJ,
right.
Grady.
It's a lot of us.
Well,
We really need to take a picture.
I was going to say,
Honestly, you'll
it's
need
like
to take a
20%
picture.
of the roster.
It's funny too because it's I think it speaks to the level of kind of competition at the high school level for the state of Georgia. But what was it like for you kind of growing up in West Atlanta, and kind of what are some of your favorite stories from childhood, maybe even going to Greater Atlanta Christian?
So I can give you two parts of that. Growing up on the west side of Atlanta, my most memorable things that I remember growing up was definitely the Falcons games. And my mom worked at Turner Broadcasting Systems for so long that she was able to get tickets for Hawks games, Braves games, things like that. So definitely the sports atmosphere in general. And then on top of that, the historic background that the city has as well. Just going to the West End side of Atlanta or just the Cascade area or things like that. But as I got older, just being at Greater Atlanta Christian, seeing the atmosphere that we have in the Gwinnett County sports arenas and things like that, it was eye-opening because you don't really get that feeling in the city. But once you get out into Gwinnett County, sports are the top tier, and you see all these big schools. They have 4,000 kids.
Yeah.
Then they have these football fields, these stadiums, these basketball arenas. It's strictly just for those sports, so it's pretty eye-opening.
So growing up, were you a Falcons fan?
I was.
You were? Who was the guy for you? Was it Vic?
It was Vic.
Yeah, of course it was.
I feel like it has to be,
It has to
right?
be.
It was Vic for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, every Sunday we were watching the Falcons games.
What do you think he meant to? I love asking this question to people who were in Atlanta at the time, because I think Michael Vick was such a transformative figure for just athletes in general, but especially here in Atlanta. And everybody you talk to, it's like, oh, Michael Vick changed the game. For you, kind of growing up in the area, what did kind of his evolution in the pro game like mean to you as a kid growing up in West Atlanta?
For me, I mean, in Little League, I wanted to play quarterback. I did play quarterback. I wanted to wear number 7. I wore number 7. And if I didn't have that opportunity, I was trying to be like Vic in any way possible.
Right.
I had his shoes, his sneakers. I wanted his cleats. I mean, it was anything Vic in Atlanta, you wanted to be him. And he had an influence over the kids, like even adults or whoever was in the city of Atlanta. Like, his influence was impactful.
You know, you wrote a really profound story for the Players Tribune in 2016 when you were at, sorry, Tori, it's a fact. He went to Tennessee.
He went to Tennessee.
The best school in SEC.
Gosh, that ugly orange.
One of a kind.
Gaudy orange.
Yeah, and I think it was right after Tennessee beat Georgia, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
He wrote
we get it.
Story for the Players Tribune. And the thing that really stuck out to me is like, like you want to represent the school that you're at, the colors that you're representing, but you also want to represent the name on the back of your jersey.
Right.
And that was something that you kind of emphasized then in that story. And can you kind of expand on that? I mean, obviously your family, going back to your grandfather and the civil rights movement, the Abernathy name means so much to so many people here. And it obviously means something to you. Can you kind of expand upon like why it's important to you to represent that name as well as you can in whatever you do?
Yeah, so I kind of explained this a little bit, but people ask me if it's a weight on my shoulders bearing the name Abernathy. And it is, but I've been wearing it for so long that I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah.
It definitely does mean something to me. When I was a little kid, I wasn't really sure about it. And then as I got older, whether I was in school or sporting events or anything like that, people would ask me, am I related to this family or how I'm related to this family? And I would tell them, and then it'd just be like taken aback a little bit. And like it was kind of like eye-opening for them. And that kind of, as I got older, it meant more and more to me. And just being able to represent my family, especially with the platform that I have, it means a lot. I mean, I'm actually one of the younger generations of my family. So I'm the youngest in my immediate family. I have 2 younger cousins. And it's just like I can be me, but I also am representing more than just myself. So it's pretty cool.
Do you ever like think about, and this is probably just like a big picture question, maybe you haven't, but just like what your family means to even like the city of Atlanta? Like, is that something that you, even growing up, had a cognizant understanding of?
I think, yeah, as I got older, I had a cognizant understanding of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm kind of just
living your life.
Yeah, just doing me, living my life. I think my parents did a really good job, and my grandparents as well, but they did a really good job of like letting us know that we are ourselves and we are not who people tell us to be. So like we all have our own personalities and our own things here and there, and they did a really good job of explaining to us that we need to be ourselves and not form to a mold of what other people want us to be.
Yeah, and you talk about like in the piece that Scott was talking about with the Players Tribune, you talked a lot about your father and who he was for you and just the impact that he had on your life. Is there a favorite story that you have of just like it epitomizes to you like who he was and maybe, you know, still is living like within you to where you are now?
Definitely his outlook on the meaning of family, for sure, and quality time. I would say he was a very hands-on father, like in every aspect of the word. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it in that article, but I didn't even go to a barber for a long time. He was cutting my hair for a while. I think maybe up until like 7th grade, my dad was cutting my hair. So it was like the quality time and the relationship that you have with your father as a son, it means a lot. And that's one thing that like stuck with me. And we would be in the bathroom or like we'd be out in the kitchen or living room or wherever, and it'd be like an hour-long conversation. And that's something that like kind of stuck with me as I got older and older and older. And I was like, why was he talking to me for so long? Like, I just want to go play video games or something. And just like definitely that. Just
Yeah.
the quality time, and I mean, he was a talker for sure. You ask anybody that knew him, he definitely would talk your ear off, and
Could
that
talk to
was
a brick wall.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
talking to a brick wall. So that was definitely something that stuck with me.
And he would like rock the Tennessee orange in Atlanta everywhere.
Yeah, he didn't care. He did not care. And before it was the Tennessee orange, my brother played at University of Cincinnati, so he'd be wearing his Bearcats hat anywhere and everywhere. He did not care.
Yeah. In the article it says that he would say that he was proud of you like several times per day, like almost like you wouldn't be able to get out of that long conversation without that coming up.
No, for sure.
Right?
That was like his phrase.
It was, and is that something that maybe, like when you're a kid and you're listening to your parents, like sometimes my brain will just turn off. You know what I mean?
Right,
but when you look back on those conversations, to have that kind of resonate, it must be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, since he's been gone, my family has definitely told me like they knew that he was so proud of us that they reiterated to his kids now. So it was definitely something that everyone kind of noticed, that he was very proud of his kids.
Yeah, and so just to kind of go back a little bit, your grandfather is Ralph David Abernathy, who worked a lot with Dr. King in the civil rights movement. He was instrumental in so many major nonviolent protests in the 1960s. Your dad got arrested a couple times because he was with his parents and stuff like that
as a kid.
So you didn't get a chance to meet your grandfather. But did your parents kind of like tell stories and give you a good impression of the type of man that he was, and the type of impact that he had? Was that like, were like those stories kind of passed on to you, and what did it mean to kind of hear and kind of live through kind of like what your dad was saying?
Yeah, there was definitely stories that I was told, me and my brother and sister, as we got older. For as long as I can remember, really, the stories were told. I mean, if you go to my grandmother's house, his wife, Juanita Odessa Jones Abernathy, she was my one and only grandparent growing up, but she did such a good job, I didn't even think to have the other grandparents around. Yeah. But if you go in her home, she had pictures on every wall in her living room that you could see from the civil rights movement and up until the time that we were born, and it was like walking through a museum. So I've seen and heard a lot of the stories, so it was pretty cool.
Is there one specifically that sticks out to you that you kind of, I don't know, that means something to you?
Yeah, there's definitely a bone-chilling story. I've explained this a couple times since I've talked about my family with my platform, but so my family was living in Alabama actually before moving to Atlanta, and part of the main reason that my family ended up moving was because my grandparents' house was bombed, and my grandmother was in the house, my grandfather wasn't there, and the oldest child, Wandalyn, was around 2 years old, I believe, but my grandmother was actually pregnant, and she was pregnant with her second child, Donsley. She's an actress in Los Angeles, actually. And if the bomb had been any closer to the house or any closer to the gas line, she wouldn't have made it out. Yeah. My grandmother and my aunt would have died in that bombing, and by the grace of God, they were able to make it out. And I actually, now that you mention it, that picture is in my grandmother's house of the bombing of the house. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then. So then the family moved to Atlanta, and your grandfather took over the West Hunter Baptist Church.
West Hunter Street.
Sorry. And you guys are actively trying to restore that, right, with some federal grants, and are trying to make that a historic site. How's that kind of process going? And is it cool to see the efforts being put behind this restoration?
Yeah, it's really cool actually. So my mother is ahead of that right now, which is the first West Hunter Street Baptist Church, and now the bigger West Hunter Street Baptist Church is not far down the road, but it's in the West End side of Atlanta, and I saw it when it was pretty bad actually. It was we had issues with the roof, the walls, the stained glass windows, the flooring was messed up, the pews were gone, like everything was just kind of destroyed. It was like an old abandoned building, and my mom is taking that, and she is really took it in stride. And if you look at it now, it's beautiful in there. Like the way that the sun comes through the stained glass windows, It's everywhere, man. It's just nice. The roof, the walls, everything is nice and clean, and she's doing a great job. I'm proud of her.
That's really cool too. That your mom marries into the family, and she kind of takes on this name in the legacy of it in her own way.
Right.
I think that's pretty fascinating too, and really awesome as well, because I mean, you talk about your grandfather and your dad, but your mom and your grandmother played a huge role in all of this as well.
As long as I can remember, my mom was really like on board with everything, and as well as my grandmother. And I think the women in the movement outside of my mom and grandmother did a great job at supporting and being head of what they needed to do in the movement. And I think they get overlooked sometimes, but for sure my mom and my grandmother, a lot of people don't even know that my grandmother might have been married into the family, or my mom might have been married into the family, because they bear the name, and they wear it proudly, and they stand tall. So
love that.
Y'all bought the church back in the 2000s, right? And then that kind of got this effort going, but to get that grant, right, to really be able to put money into that, and there's a community center down there as well, to be able to kind of see that and make that like a home for another generation, you know what I mean? Must be kind of a cool thing in that neighborhood that you guys have kind of
right. So when we got the grant, actually it was a little event that we had there, and my brother was actually speaking at the Capitol. So I went with my brother that day, and my sister with my mom that day, and then we went back over to the church. Me and my brother went over to the church, and we were like in the pulpit, and me and my brother were kind of standing up there, and it was a crowd, or not too many people, but somebody asked me, and my brother were like, "How does it feel to be standing in the same place your grandfather stood?" And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't even think about that." It was kind of like eye-opening and humbling to be able to really stand in the same spot that he stood in the same church that really got his foot in the ground in Atlanta.
Does it mean something to? I mean, we talk about all of this, and I think it's so amazing in and of itself. But to also be able to have kind of the platform that you do with the Falcons, specifically a team that you grew up in, a city that you grew up in, how much does that kind of impact the weight of all of this for you too?
I mean, it impacts it a lot, for sure. I think, like I said, the support that I have here from people I don't even know, or people that might know my family, or they knew my aunt, my dad, my whoever, like the older generations as well. I think that's like the biggest thing that I've seen since I've been here, is like I might just have somebody that like just sees a name on the back of my jersey, like if we're practicing at the stadium, and they might say something, and I'm like, oh wow, that's I didn't really have this same feeling in other places, so it's pretty cool to have it here.
And to be at this point in your football journey, you transition a little bit in this football journey, it's not like, you were a first-round pick and had, everything was easier, right? That you've had to kind of earn your way and earn your spot here. And when you look at this opportunity, it looks like a pretty good one that you're taking advantage of from the outside, right? And to be able to kind of to be in this spot, you bounced around to some different teams, played in the USFL, but to be here and really with a shot to make a strong impact on this team, kind of does your football journey, like what it took to get here, maybe tough times and good and bad times, to have this opportunity, do you kind of think about kind of where you've come from to where you are now from a football perspective?
I think about it every day. I mean, even a year ago, I had just got to Green Bay. I got to Green Bay late. And made an impact as soon as I got there. But I was actually just telling some of my teammates before we had or actually as soon as we left Miami, for Miami, I was telling them, I was like, I was at home at this point last year. I didn't even get the opportunity. I didn't come in until 2 days before the first preseason game. So my journey, at least over this last 53 weeks is crazy. So I definitely think about it every day. And for the last 3 or 4 years, it's definitely been ups and downs, but it made me who I am. So,
what did it take for you to kind of get your foot in the door of the league? Because we talk about, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you played at all in 21.
Correct.
What was that year like for you in terms of like do I want to continue down this road or do I want to do something else? Like, because I feel like that's probably going through the back of your head. And what was it that kind of made you want to get, put yourself back on the path of wanting to get into the league?
I knew what I could do and who I was. I think that's really what was my driving force. But I mean, it was tough.
Yeah.
Like waking up 3-4 times a week, going to the field by myself. It was tough. Running through drills by myself, recording myself, making sure that my footsteps are right, or making sure I'm not overstepping here or there. Like, I mean, defensive back is a very technical position. It's all about fundamentals. So going out there and coaching myself for a year and a half was definitely tough. And I mean, honestly, it was really just faith driven. I knew I would get the opportunity to show who I was, and when I got that opportunity, I tried to make the most of it.
The USFL tape, right? I mean, like that experience, what did that mean in relation to your journey to be able to go play, put some good stuff on tape for some of these teams to see?
I mean, at that point, it meant everything. I didn't know if I was going to get another opportunity in the NFL. I was hoping I would, but I mean, you just never really know. And it just meant everything. I went out there every game and tried to give my all, and like I said, by the grace of God and faith, I got the opportunity.
I think it's cool too that you're talking about, that for that year and a half, you're kind of your own teacher, and then you go to Green Bay. You jump around, but then you go to Green Bay and you get to work with Jerry Gray, and he to me is like the ultimate teacher.
Yeah.
Every time I watch him interact with you guys, I'm like, he's a teacher as much as anything. What was he to your development in y'all's time together?
I actually had Coach Gray in Minnesota as well.
Oh, wow.
You
I
did?
don't know that. Yeah,
I didn't know
my
that.
first team was in Minnesota.
Okay.
2019, and then I was able to work with him last year in Green Bay, and I got to work with him the whole year. And his knowledge on the game is kind of crazy, honestly.
It is.
Like,
Yeah.
he knows things that are happening before they happen. I mean, the reason I got that pick last year against the Saints in preseason was because of him. He called the play out, and I was just trusting it. I was like, all right, well,
He's like,
I'm gonna go
right
make his play.
there.
Yeah, he's like 7 rounds. I was like, all right. So I just went and made the play. But he's definitely a teacher. He's a coach and a teacher, and I think you can be a coach, but you might not be a good teacher. But he's both. So it's a good mix, especially with the group of guys that we have.
Yeah, and in Green Bay, right? You're trying to make an impression, you're trying to learn a playbook when you're getting in with a new team and you haven't had the OTAs to kind of warm up to it. But you made an impact quickly there. There's a bunch of injuries at safety, right? But then bang, you kind of make your stamp right away. That like initial wave of time with the Packers, to be able to do that right away, kind of say, hey man, I can do this. How much did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. I mean, it was everything for me. Like I said, I mean, I like coming in late to camp. I came in the third week of camp or so, right before the first preseason game, and I didn't know if I was going to get another opportunity. I've been places where I've been in there for a week or so and then got cut. So I was just trying to make the most of every second that I got in that building, and it just ended up working out and making plays, and hard work trumps all. So that's really what I tried to show them that I could do.
Now, this opportunity in Atlanta, I mean, we've talked about like what it means to you like personally, but from a professional standpoint and kind of what is being built here in Atlanta, what excites you about this group that you guys have?
Specifically, DBs or the entire team?
If you want to talk about DBs, we can talk about DBs. We can talk about both. Let's start with the DBs, because I feel very strongly about the secondary, and I feel like y'all have something really special.
We got guys everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it, though. We know we have ballers in every position and every layer of our defense specifically. But our DBs, like, we're hard workers. We know each other. We're very close, I would say, at this point. I mean, we haven't even been around each other that long. And I think we're a very close-knit group, and we can be honest with each other. I think we feed off each other well on the field and off the field, personality-wise. I know we got some characters back there.
Most certainly.
That y'all do.
Yeah, for sure. But I think our group is very special, and it's. I mean, I'm just trying to do my job, really.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's role right now, though.
And then with defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen, it's like every single time we talk to anybody, it's like the words attack and aggression like come through. That's like the two words that always come up when we're talking about this defense. For you, kind of how do you see that enacting in who this defense is?
I mean, we practice it every day. I mean, I think Coach Nielsen does a really good job of showing us what he wants out of us. And every day we walk in the meeting room, we see attack and aggressive. That's his two things that he wants us to do. He probably says that in his sleep a little bit. So that's kind of like what's really going on in the back of his head every time he calls a play. So it's pretty cool to see like the passion that he has for himself, as well as the players that he puts out into the field and in the position. So it's pretty cool.
Do you feel like, maybe you don't, but do you feel like there's been like a corner turned in terms of your level of play, or do you feel like that you've gotten better in certain areas, or is it just about I have an opportunity and I'm able to take advantage of it?
I think it's more so just the opportunity. I mean, every time I walk on the field, I know that the opportunity can't be taken away from me by injury or just other things that might happen, and the opportunity itself is motivating me at this point. I don't really think about anything else.
I love that. I think that's a really good point. It's like the opportunity in and of itself is the motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you have it. There's a couple more preseason games left to go. And, you know, again, there's a lot of quality and a lot of depth there. And, yeah, characters. So do you sing and dance like Richie and Jalen?
No.
No?
I mean, at home.
Yeah.
Nah.
Not like in public.
No.
Not in public.
I'm a lead at a Richie and Hawk.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you and Jesse kind of chilling, and the other guys, you'll let them do all the dancing.
Yeah, we're definitely a good, well-balanced crew. And we were in the dorms together, and it was half and half. But it was cool, though. It was cool. I mean, you need that. You need those kind of guys around you.
Yeah, I mean, like getting through camp, the players are living at the dorms. It's a grind. I think we mentioned you're on day 20 or something like that, with many more days to go. How do you kind of keep yourself sane during training camp? Do you have any weird rituals? You got snacks you eat? You got video games you play? Anything that kind of, or is it just all football all the time?
I mean, right now it's definitely all football all the time.
Yeah.
But I would say I read or I go on walks around my neighborhood or something like that just to clear my head. I typically try to do it alone and leave my phone or do whatever I need to do to just clear my head. So I go on like a 20, 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
We love a hot girl walk. We do.
It's too hot to walk.
Yeah, no, I wait till the sun's down.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
For sure.
I'm from Southern California, the land of 72 and partly cloudy. So the whole thing.
The muggy heat is a little different.
I don't know how you practice with that.
Will get ya.
Yeah. We've come to the point in the podcast, probably one of my favorites. It's a rapid fire section. Generally, the everybody gets the same questions. Okay. It's super, super intense and very hard hitting type of stuff. Okay.
For sure.
Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready.
Okay.
Are both of us answering? Or is
No.
Just me? All right, so I'm on the hot seat.
Yes, you are. What is your favorite? Oh, this is the first question. What's your favorite play of your career? High school, college, pros, whatever.
My favorite play of my career was actually in high school. I had a 96-yard run. I played running back. I think I broke maybe 7 tackles.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure I made ESPN that day, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Love that.
Favorite
I'm just
play.
glad that you didn't say anything regarding a
certain
certain Tennessee-Georgia
The
game.
2016 time we beat Georgia.
Well, we
The
are
Hail
back-to-back national champions, so there we go. Maybe going for a third.
But
We're not gonna
Michael
let that
wasn't at Tennessee when that happened.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
He wouldn't have let that happen.
It's okay. Now, question number 2. If you could have a superpower, what would your superpower be? Could be anything.
Invisibility.
Invisibility. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You just
do whatever I want.
No one would care.
No.
Mine's always being able to teleport, like away from traffic.
That would be cool.
Or just snap your fingers and be somewhere. But being invisible, highly rated. Who is your favorite? Okay, we know about Mike Vick, right? So let's take him out of the equation.
We're
for a
plugging him
second.
out. Yeah.
Who is your favorite player, regardless of sport?
Outside of Michael Vick.
Mike Vick
Ooh.
exempted.
Outside of Michael Vick, in any sport?
Tough, man. There's so many to choose from. Are you a LeBron or Kobe guy? I feel like that's a big kicker too.
So when I was younger, I was more of a LeBron fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am a LeBron fan, but as I got older, like Kobe's mentality kind of stuck with
Yeah.
me a little more. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't say he is
Your
my top
favorite.
athlete. I would probably have to go with Serena.
Serena, that's a
Yes!
good one.
She's
Yes.
different.
We have the first
This is
Serena.
the first time.
Nobody else has said that?
No one has
What is everybody else saying?
No one has said a female athlete, and I am just so excited about this.
Oh, Serena.
She is the GOAT. She's the GOAT.
Yeah.
She's the GOAT.
I
for
will
sure.
die on that hill. Great answer. Best answer of the podcast ever, and we've done a lot of episodes of this. The next question, is there a TV show or a movie that you're particularly fond of at the current moment?
My favorite movie of all time is Life.
Ooh,
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good
Yeah,
one.
that's definitely. I mean, that's gonna be my favorite movie ever.
Ever.
Forever.
yeah.
Like, how
Gotcha.
many
But-
times have we seen it?
Ooh, I've probably seen Life probably close to 20 times.
20
Whoa.
times.
Okay.
I bought Life on DVD when DVDs weren't even a thing anymore.
Right.
Just
You
because I
wanted
wanted
the
to have.
DVD.
You just
the
wanted to
DVD.
own the DVD.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be able
Eddie
to
Murphy
like,
and Martin Lawrence. Nah,
no.
I'm watching that regardless. I'm actually upset because I'm pretty sure you have to pay for it now, and I don't have a DVD player, but I might go get one.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the
I
still
only
have it.
reason,
Right.
the
Yeah.
only reason to have a DVD
That's
and
a
a DVD
classic.
player, yeah,
Yeah.
is to watch
Classic.
live. Yeah.
Absolutely essential. And then last one, and especially because you're from Atlanta restaurant that you can't live without.
Man,
I know there's a lot of good ones.
I know that one's always like the hard one. I know, like when the first
Oh, man.
person that we
Grady,
had,
like
Grady went.
He gave us a laundry list of places to go.
Yeah, he's like, "This is where you should go. This is where you should go." And I was like, "Grady, that's out of my tax bracket."
Right. Or
when I was growing up, after church, we would go to Busy Bee.
go to Busy Bee.
Yeah, Busy Bee or Pascal's, but mostly Busy Bee though. I'd probably say, if you can come to Atlanta and you want to experience the culture, you got to go to Busy Bee.
See, I feel like that's a fantastic choice. Serena and Busy Bee in the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
rapid fire. That is
Top 10 rapid
your
fire right
elite
there.
company right there. Micah Abernathy, thank you so much for joining us on this Falcons in Focus presented by Ticketmaster. Everybody out there, do what you do. Rate, review, and subscribe to the Atlanta Falcons Podcast Network. And we will be back next week with another awesome guest. See ya.